The Dynamic Young Adults Group is an initiative of the Corpus Christi Roman Catholic Church, but caters for all youth in the community. Gerald Forbes is the group leader for some time now, and Gerelle Forbes is a senior mentor. We're very happy to be able to speak with them at this point in time. Good evening, Gerald and Gerelle. And Mr. Gerald, let me start off with you, please, asking for a little overview of DYA.
Okay, well, DYA was founded many years ago. I started, I am a confirmation teacher in the Corpus Christi RC Church. And after confirmation, most of the youths would just disappear. So with an effort to kind of keep them and hold them there, I started a youth group. So we had meetings on one day. We chose a Friday evening, which was one of the most convenient days because, you know, with school and everything else, the Friday was one of the more convenient days. And we went from there. As you would know, they would grow up, but I always kept a next batch coming in after kind of thing. So we had sometimes some of the older ones would be there while the younger ones would be there. So we had what we call more senior people to the juniors. So they would kind of help mentor the juniors to bring them in kind of thing. And the group would go down with attendance, and even some of them will move on because they would get jobs and whatnot and thing, and their time would be taken up in other things. But it never died. It just keeps going on and on. In the beginning, we had changed our name because originally it was called Genesis, the Genesis Youth Group. And over the time, we have changed kind of thing. And even Gerelle passed through the youth group too, as one of the members.
40 years back?
Not so long.
Oh,
But
So-
it could be about, yeah, about 30-something years now, over 30-something years.
All right, now let me pull you in a little bit now, please, Gerelle. And I'm looking at you, just looking so adoringly at Mr. Forbes. But what is the role that you have at this point in time within the group?
Well, immediately to make sure that this generation don't raise his pressure. This is a different generation of students now. But no, I too would have passed through the youth group. I would have seen the different individuals would have passed through the youth group because, like Daddy says, about 30-something years. So now you have the children of children who would have passed through under Daddy, who are no longer children, they're grown folks, and they now have their own teenagers. And so I kind of become just like that. I would have passed through the youth group, and now I'm old enough and knowledgeable enough and understand that there's responsibility to a community. So I am now in that position. And I guess I could connect a little bit more to the generation now because they're different. Every generation, I think, would have a different way of communicating with the children. And so I kind of fit in to that naturally. I mean, it wasn't even a by force type situation. It was really just, well, it needs to be done, so we need to do it type thing.
Was that hard for you, Mr. Gerald, in terms of saying, okay, well, something's happening here. Let me see if I can pull in Gerelle to see if she can help bridge that gap or that divide or that space.
No, I didn't really intentionally try to pull her in. It just fell in automatically. With the children around now, I guess as I tell them, I say again, old now are boring, you know, or they didn't talking, you ain't getting all this to talk. But with Gerelle around, they were a little more open. So I just kind of pull myself back a little, allowing them to talk, but I am still always there overseeing and still commenting and saying whatever needs to be said and what is to be done, you know, kind of thing. So I am still a significant part of the group, if I should say that, as the old head.
And then he's the head.
Yeah.
But like I said, the generations have changed. So you'd find now that if you try to engage with teenagers, the immediate thing is to shut down. They don't speak. I mean, I think, let's be fair, when you're going through adolescence, you go through that phase, everybody asks you, yeah, right? Yeah, good. That's it. You have no opinions on nothing. You have no thoughts on anything. And that became an issue. So we were having meetings and you're trying to engage these youths and you would get blank stares back at you. And poor Daddy trying his hardest to get through to them and to reach out to them. and this is something that's not just within like our youth group. I think in general, there's a disconnect in communicating between the generations. Um, I guess because I would have gone through not just the program with daddy, but also living with him and understanding his means of communication and understanding the objective in the lessons that, communicating to the generation after me. I just work like a bridge. And that kind of made it easier for me to fall in. But I understand too, because you have parents who would come and tell you, you're trying to talk to them and you can't get no reaction out of them. They're not saying anything. They're not reaching out. They're not. So I think in general, understanding that this generation communicates differently and taking the time to understand how they communicate or what they're trying to say when they're not saying things, that takes a while, yes, but it is crucial. It is very, very important if you're trying to help.
Speaking of communication, what has the interaction and the communication been like during the pandemic with stay-at-home measures in place?
Well, originally, we were having, I mean, I thought, the time away would have done them, some good, especially school, because school is one of the factors that brings a lot of stress on these teens. So our group, we deal with children under the age of 19, more or less.
Yeah, they're more or less from like 15, 14, 15 going up to like
Right.
about 19.
Only the seniors would be older than that.
older than that.
So from the lockdown, we kind of gave the first 2 weeks for them to just, be with themselves, be with their family, whatever. Until eventually they started to get really bored of that. And then we started doing Zoom classes online. Now the Zoom classes originally didn't really start off as classes per se with a topic. It was really more of a regrouping at first because we realized how badly the children just wanted to spend time with each other, even if that means virtually. And Zoom being the most popular one because of, again, school would have recommended Zoom for their academic classes. It was just easier to do the Zoom. The first 2 sessions was really just them interacting with each other. Hey, what been going on? Da 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 da. Stupid talk, normal thing. And then eventually we got back into doing classes, like holding a topic. And it worked even better because, of course, with these platforms, we can also show videos and then they can also present with the screen sharing accessibility. They could be showing us things too. And so that's ideally what we want to encourage, where they can talk, they can open, they can share different things. And it gets very personal, which the group eventually became that, a space that is separate from school and separate from home, where you can open up and ask questions that you can't usually go to adults or ask about. So it's definitely like a safe space. And it needs the separation between daddy and I. I do not like to deal with the parents. I don't want to deal with your parents or any adults. I deal with the children and them because I feel like there's that disconnect. I need to ensure that there's a trust happening. So we need daddy to deal with the parents most times because I don't want to hear you. And then he does that communication to the parents when it comes to, okay, so, I mean, you don't share because it's definitely confidential what is shared in the group. It's not just talk about it being a safe space, whether it's online or in real life. And so, but when it comes to communicating with the parents and communicating to the teachers, you see how the group expand even beyond that. But then Zoom became not enough, and eventually, well, luckily we can now regroup again.
Now, in terms of speaking about,
I try to keep, particularly when it comes to the parents, I would indicate to them, I could only tell you that much, just to keep the confidence of the children. If it's anything that needs desperate need of your parents, I will let you know, kind of thing. But more or less, whatever is said in group, I try to keep it confidential for the kids' sake, because I don't want to lose that openness or that trust that they have in me, feeling that well, Forbes, you go run back and go and tell, my mother, tell my father, so I try not to let them. I tell them, whatever you discuss here, whatever is done here, it remains here. Unless it's something desperate, then I would let your parents know. So I let them know too, uphand, that this is the way it is. So I must say, I've gained a lot of them confidence, and most of them are really open, and they will come to you and they will tell you whatever it is, and they, you could always have a nice discussion with them, and they're open enough to tell you any question I ask of them. Most times they'll answer. They'll answer, and they'll answer truthfully.
Adults underestimate that trust relationship between you and your child, or you, or even a stranger. Even if it's a youth in your community that you're just trying to reach out, you see that trust factor. As long as a child doesn't feel like they can trust you, whether you are a parent or not, they just won't.
And then we want to continue speaking about that trust factor and being a safe space and enlarging the territory, literally and figuratively, when we return. We're speaking with Gerald and Gerelle Forbes on this station. Stay with us. We return with so much more. Welcome back to this conversation we're having with Gerald and Gerelle Forbes about the dynamic young adults group based out of the Corpus Christi RC Church. Now, Gerald, I want to ask, please, moving from Genesis to dynamic young adults, and I was able to see on one of the frequently asked questions whether or not this is just a Roman Catholic thing, is a church thing, and you're saying no. You are open to youth in the area. What has that transition been like?
Basically, because we're not basing only on religion, and youths have a lot more issues that need to be dealt with. Religion is only part. So most of our children, they are from the Roman Catholic Church because it was founded there and it's where it started. But we have opened up because we're dealing more with what they go through on a norm kind of thing. And they could be misled so easily by so much forces that they have outside there, that in a essence, not to lose them, but to keep them kind of grounded where they could even kind of work out things to themselves. We kind of want to open it up to, because it's so much, it's not just Catholic youths alone that are out there that are in trouble, but there are others. So hence we could open up and allow them to come in, and we don't discriminate. So we allow anyone, the youths, once they're willing to abide by what we do, we don't have a problem,
One of the things people underestimate too is at this age, there's a lot of transitioning happening because it's young adults. They are preparing themselves to be adults in the society. And so a lot of things they are now making decisions or exploring before they make a final decision as it relates to who they are. So religion or spirituality in this sense is one of those things. When you're a young adult, you're not certain that this is what you want, or you're now asking all the whys and the hows. That's a natural process. Same way when it comes to your sexuality, same way when it comes to what you want to be with you when you grow up, what is your career path. The age group is an age group where you are transitioning and you're exploring all your options. So we didn't want to add another layer of force. You can only be here if you're part of X or you're part of Y, and it's all of that part of the whole trust thing too. You can't say that you want to build a relationship with young adults or you want them to trust you if you're hell-bent on what you believe and pushing your agendas and whatever. And they literally have so much of that in all their environments, at home, at school, interacting with their peers, interacting with their other extended family members, that where do they go where they don't have to pick a side and they can just process and ask questions and get answers back or explore certain things. And I mean, must be grateful to the fact that the church is willing to continue to supply that space and see the importance of ensuring that safe space holistically happens so that the conversation can happen. And I think an adult will have way more to offer if they have a space like that as they transition. I mean, they're welcome to make whatever decisions you want to make when it comes to your spirituality, but it should not be the premise.
And I think from the scriptures and stuff that we read, Jesus didn't necessarily make it a habit of riding with scribes and Pharisees too much, right?
Exactly.
But in terms of that safe space, we're not asking you to break confidence, but what kind of conversations were you having? Because I looked at a post that you put, Gerelle, and you said you were surprised in some of the conversations that you were having when people actually started coming back and you were able to physically come and have that sounding board. Describe that to me, please.
Oh, yeah. As everybody knows, COVID has been a transition for everybody around the world. You know, it's been a period of change, and I think we underestimate too that children are also being affected by this. I'm saying children, but they are young adults. Topics that we would have, so we actually kind of plan our lessons based on observations of the group. So the seniors tend to regroup every 3 months or so, and based off of observations within the group, we decide what the next set of topics would be. So if we're seeing a student who seems to be developing some sort of addiction, or a student who is obviously very depressed, or a student who's struggling with issues at home, we would have explored based on, we would have decided what would be the topics for next class based on, so we kind of plan it quarterly, so to say. We've covered topics like literally exploring emotions, identifying and exploring emotions, parenting. We've done parenting experience, and a parenting experience exercise, for example, this time around, because Daddy used to do this a lot with all the groups that pass through. We have dolls, and you partner up with somebody, and you have to mind this baby for the weekend, and then the final day would be like an outing where everybody gets to see how you interact as a parent.
And I actually wanted to ask Mr. Gerald about that, because I saw the pictures and I wanted to see how does vulnerability play into the exercises that you're doing. Because this is not success, this is not cookery, this is everywhere. You see images of what a fella is supposed to be, what a man is supposed to be, man. And in terms of like having that doll and being able to say, well, I'm caring for this person, I'm caring for this individual. What is it like, or what kind of feedback do you get when you are able to show that, as opposed to just say able to tell that?
It is even a little more ticklish for them, and even demeaning. I don't even want to say the word demeaning, but they feel how to go out in public. And that's how we tend to end it. We take them on an outing. Last time we went, that one time we went Cora. One of the guys, he was a single parent. He was a daddy, and he had his doll. But the rest of the group playing football and whatnot and thing. And they are aware that people watching them. And we, some of the seniors, we have people who judge them too, kind of thing. Because at the end of the day, we always have the next class we will go through and let them know what we think, who was the best father, who was the best mother, who was the best couple, you know, kind of thing. But the guy wanted to play football, and he hung up the child in a bamboo patch, kind of thing. And, you know, we said, what kind of thing is that? Yeah, you know, and next one was head over heels, he's looking for somebody to mind the child, you know, kind of thing. So it gives them, but this year, this last parenting experience we did, we even went a bit further. What we did, we sent them in town with a baby list to go and check out prices of like cassack, baby vests, diapers, milk, you know, baby bottles, all this kind of thing. When they came back, some of them was like, wait, this thing expensive, all that had to put out. So I said, yes, this is something just for you all to know what you all are entering with exploring all your sexuality, getting into that. It means children. And you have to step up and take care of these children, kind of thing.
And while you're speaking about entering, it's time for us to exit. You won't believe that 20 minutes fly already. Huh? But I want to say thank you so much. And I love the tagline, success is not just home, it's the goal. So we want to thank you, Gerald and Gerelle Forbes, in terms of the work that you're doing. And I actually found the group on Facebook, so that's Dynamic Young Adults. And just give me the number quick, because we are already over time. Contact information?
Well, you could contact 739-5669, which is daddy number. Don't be calling on his phone all kind of unnecessary hours. The man needs to sleep too. When he phone ring, it does bother me too. But you can call that number, or you can send us a message through the Facebook page. Right now, we're at a stage where the children are asking a lot of questions as it relates to racism and understanding Trini history. So we're in a process of collecting any sort of reading material or any videos, anything like that. If somebody watching have information that you think can be shared with the kids, I'm definitely open to that. Please and thank you. Yeah, let's get some reading and learning going.
Gerald and Gerelle. And I hear we're not supposed to be asking Daddy Gerald for custard. He's going bad for that.
Yeah, don't ask him.
Just saying.
Don't ask him. Don't ask him.
But on behalf of Verna and the entire news team, I'm DK Rosta. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a good night.